Good morning athletes, and welcome to another live kitchen, performance kitchen. Thank you first of all for all of you who took part in last week's Valentine's special. I absolutely loved receiving the fantastic photographs of your wonderful creations. The beetroot apparently has gone down a tree. I got brilliant photographs, brilliant feedback, and genuinely that is what I'm here for, just to sort of inspire you to use different ingredients in different ways. Wonderful ingredients bursting with nutrients. But this week it's all about Shrove Tuesday, which of course is pancakes. Now, pancakes is something that I make every week, and I make it a lot with athletes because they love obviously the carbohydrate option and the protein and the benefits of it being a really easy snack or a brilliant breakfast and an option as a recovery as well. So when tasked with what to do this morning, there are so many recipes out there that look at how we can make a pancake healthier. First thing I'll say is I actually don't think pancakes are that unhealthy. I think if we look at actually the raw ingredients of even a standard pancake batter, it's a bit of flour, it's a bit of milk, it's an egg. It's all relatively straightforward and simple. The problem is what we put on top of it. So if you could see, I'm kind of hiding a lot out of shot here, but if you could see the mass of fruit and bits and pieces we're going to do to create healthy toppings this morning, that is going to be as big a focus. So let's get cooking. First thing I want to do is talk about utensils. I think those of you who came to my omelette wrap week a couple of weeks ago, I talked about the benefits of a non-stick pan. There's two. First of all, it makes the whole job of omelettes and pancakes a hell of a lot easier and more enjoyable. And secondly, we can use less oil. And one of the big things for me is when I talk to athletes, I say, how do you prepare your food? And often they ignore the method of cooking. And if you're frying or if you're using too much oils, butters, etc., it really does add or take away from the benefit of what we're doing. So I have two fabulous non-stick pans here. If you have a non-stick pan, please use it. If you don't, they've come down massively in price. I think this one cost me £10 on Amazon. This one's slightly more, but I use it for everything. So cost per use, definitely think it's worth investing. Anything goes in this. And I'll use a spray for the benefit of you guys today, but usually I just dry fry on it. So I'm gonna put these both on. I'm gonna put them on I'm just gonna use the big one for now. And I'm gonna put that one on a medium heat, okay? One of the big things with pancakes is we can easily burn them. So everybody whacks their heat on to massive high flames, and then they wonder why their pancakes are overcooked or they can't, they're cooking too quick and then they're too brown. So a medium heat. And now we're going to start with our pre-pancake. So the pre-pancake, and those of you who are following with the recipe card, I'm using a banana and an egg, and that is it. That is the only ingredient in the pancake batter. Now, please, and I'll put it on the recipe card, can you pick a really ripe banana? I've run out of really ripe bananas. I'm going to be honest, I've been cooking these all week. So look how unripe mine are. However, I'm just going to give it a go. And as you can see, even if you've only got greenish bananas, it's a little bit more arm work for you, but just give it a little mash. And then all we're going to do to that is add a beaten egg. So that's relatively straightforward. Now, I'm going to do it the traditional way, but for those of you who have a NutriBullet or a blender or a smoothie maker or whatever, you can do it in this. And so if you're doing this regularly, if you're doing it in much bigger quantities, make life easier for yourself. So in goes an egg. Those of you who want to pre-beat and all that, then fine, but I'm just going to mix it in with the banana like that. Okay, and then we're just looking, but what I'm going to do just to show you how simple it is, I'm going to put it now, just drop it in like that into my NutriBullet. Okay, don't put your berries in at this point because we want the berries to stay whole. Okay, whatever you've got, use it. And we have our batter. Okay, so what we're going to do, that's the first pancake batter made. We're going to drop in some blueberries. You don't have to do that. If you don't like blueberries, don't add them. If you want to use a different fruit, go for it. If you just want to leave it as a banana pancake, perfect. We've talked before in previous weeks about the cost of berries and you know, how we can get around all these factors if we're going to eat them as regularly as I want you to. I'm using frozen. Now, frozen blueberries are £1.50 a bag, as opposed to about £2.99 for a small 125 gram punnet. So for this benefit, I'm using some frozen. And I'm just going to sprinkle in, I don't know, half of a handful straight into my batter. Okay, give it a shake, we're ready to go. With your saucepan, it's now super hot. I'm going to just show you. I would usually use nothing, but we're just going to go for a couple of sprays. There you go, it's 4 in a massive pan. And then I'm just going to gently pour in. They're like a pancake batter for the American sort of pancake, like a drop pancake. So again, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to try and do 2, okay, with this. I've been generous with my blueberries on purpose. We've been looking at blueberries this week. I'm going to put them back onto my moderate heat here now. I'll just talk you through the blueberries. Those of you cooking with me, let's not forget about them, please. If I do forget, can somebody send me a message on here? Blueberries, brilliant for cognition. So we're looking all the time at all the cognitive skills we use when we're running or other athletic sort of abilities. And the blueberry has been proven now to be absolutely phenomenal at that. So in terms of anything to do with cognition, get some blueberries in your life. They're brilliant. Okay, they're not going to take very long, these, about a minute on each side, so I'm going to bring them back over in a minute. What you're looking for is just to see the tiny little bubbles on the surface. Just that will give you an idea that it's cooking well underneath. And then another minute on the other side. Let's give it a go and see how we're getting on. No, we need a little bit longer. That gives me the perfect opportunity to talk you through one of my first toppings while that's cooking. I'm going to do some roasted fruits with you. I've got other ways of doing it, but I'm going to get my roasted fruits in. We've got a roasting tin. You don't need to spray it or anything unless you're desperate to. And then you can pick whichever vegetable or fruit you want. Now I'm going to go with fruit, and I'm going to go with the pineapple, okay? I chopped these this morning, and I want to put some of those in with that now. Let me just check my pancake. Okay, so hopefully if I hold it into camera there, you can start to see the tiny little bubbles that are appearing around the edge. Now, I'm not that fussed about what shape they are or how they hold their shape. The most important thing is how they taste. So I've just created the normal, wonderful. I'm going to give that a bit longer because, to be honest, we've got plenty of time for that. Okay, back to here. I'm going to throw some of these pineapples in there. You can do a whole tray if you want. I'm going to use these afterwards in a smoothie. And I'm going to go for some frozen, again, because we're baking it, we don't need the fresh. I'm going to go with some frozen raspberries straight into my baking tray, okay? To that, I'm going to add some spice. You don't have to, you can just leave it like that. I'm going to add today, I've got some nutmeg out, I've got some allspice out. I'm going to use my cinnamon in a minute. Let's just do a little bit of allspice on the top. Shake that over. A tiny drizzle of either maple syrup or honey, okay? Just to bring out the sweetness. And that's going to go into a hot oven around 425 Fahrenheit, probably about 180, 200 Celsius, gas mark 5, okay? Let's put that in the oven and come back to our wonderful pancakes. Okay, so what was that, about 2 minutes? I'm using as well like a spatula to flip these. And the weight of the blueberries is clearly going to make this an impossible task for me, but I will give it a good go. Okay, that's not bad. So they flipped over now. Let me give them another minute. Whilst they're cooking, let's move on to our post pancake. Now, this is where I get excited. We're always looking to get protein into you guys, particularly in the recovery stage. And that's because we're looking at resynthesizing your muscles, repairing the muscle breakdown, and assisting obviously in your recovery before your next run. One of the best and controversial products and food products we have is the humble cottage cheese, okay? I'm not a fan. Some of you out there might eat this by the bucket. Personally, I don't like it. So when I looked at this recipe, I thought, oh, what shall I do? So I tried it. Brilliant. You can't taste it. It's not got the same texture or anything. And the benefit of this is the protein. It's got amazing protein, which I'm going to come to in a minute. Okay, so I'm just going to take them a little bit longer. Again, I'm doing this in my NutriBullet. And actually, because I'm so lazy, I'm using the same one because I'm going to use that for the chocolate sauce in a minute. So my NutriBullet, again, if you haven't got one of these, you can either do it in a mixing bowl or you can do it in a food processor or a blender. Okay, let's take that off the heat. Right, so for the protein, what do? We whack everything, all the ingredients, into a blender. We start off with 40 grams of oats. Love oats, you know I love oats. Slow releasing carbohydrate, brilliant source, got loads of micronutrients in, brilliant, in it goes. Then we have got 1 scoop of protein powder. This is optional. If you don't take supplements, you want to just add in a scoop, you can leave it out or you can just put in 10 grams of plain flour, in it goes. Then we have 60 mils of milk. I'm using dairy because it's highest in protein and that's what we're doing. But if you don't have dairy, if you're on plant-based, vegan, or you have a dairy lactose intolerance, you can clearly use any of the other plant-based forms, okay? In it goes. Then I have my egg white. Egg white, perfect protein, straight in, 1 egg white. Okay, then the only other ingredient is a lemon. So let's quickly squeeze some lemon juice into this. And again, if you love the taste of lemons, you can add more. And then of course, the most important ingredient, 100 grams of cottage cheese. Okay, now, it doesn't look like your traditional pancake batter, I give you that. However, I'm going to show you how brilliant it is. Let me just whiz it up in my NutriBullet. Casein in the cottage cheese. Effectively, that's the stuff that makes it really thick. So obviously cottage cheese is a thick dairy product. It's brilliant in Greek yogurt, the really thick Greek yogurt. It's absolutely packed with it. I think the 70% protein is casein in cottage cheese and in Greek yogurt. So, and that's it, okay? That's pancake batter number 2. Right, let's have a look. Let's move my performance ones, pre-performance ones. I'm going to show you in a minute when they've cooled down. And then we're going to get my other pan to do now that's been warming, guys. So I've had that warm again for about a minute or so on a moderate heat. Again, maximum of 4 sprays of your oil. We'll talk about the oil in a second when I get this on. And again, this has got a dropping consistency. You can, if you like crepe pancakes, so the bigger ones, the thinner ones, you can add more milk or water to this to dilute it. So I'd say probably about 100 mils maximum for this measurement. And then you've got a much thinner pancake, okay? But for the benefit of today, we're going with this nice buttermilk. So on that's going to go, and I'm going to just allow that to cook. I've not added any fruit into this one, I'm just giving you different options. You can, of course, add your berries or your apple or whatever into this if you want. The other thing to say is, if you've got a savoury taste, at this point, you can put some chili flakes in. I can see you all bouncing up here. Chili flakes, gratings of fabulous fresh cheeses, sea salts, herbs, you can do whatever you like. This is just a base. The banana one, slightly different, obviously that's got the sweet connotations, but this one will hold any of your savoury flavours. So those of you out there who like that, then you can add it in at this stage. Okay, whilst that is cooking away, I want to talk to you about my second topping. So one of the beauties of using fruit is being able to stew it. It allows it to retain all of its goodies because we cook it at a low temperature and we usually use the juices that have left over. One of my favourites is stewed peaches. I'm using frozen, look, they come straight out of my freezer, and I'm just going to pop them into a saucepan. To that, I am simply adding 1 squeeze of honey and a little tiny drop of water. And I'm going to put that over a low flame. That's it, okay? So let's put that on that back one. Okay, now, that's had what, about a minute? Okay, let me just go around the edge as we did with our omelette the other week. Again, just lifting it away. And then I'm not doing any flipping or anything today, guys. I might just give that another couple of seconds to make it easier for me to manoeuvre. The third topping that's fruity is going to be my go-to, which is the apple and cinnamon stewed. 1 apple. I'm not going to peel my apple. I know it's controversial. You don't taste it when you cook it or you stew it. So unless you absolutely hate the texture of, and when it's cooked, the peel, as I tell you all the time, most of the goodies are in the peel. So please try and keep it on. Okay, in terms of how small you cut it, can you please maybe just think about how you're going to have it. So some people, you want it really chunky in your pancakes, obviously make it bigger. If you want it to be super tiny, chop accordingly. Okay, so chop it up, and we're going to put that into a saucepan like we did the peaches, and we're going to add to this whichever flavours we like. I personally think it works best with cinnamon, and cinnamon is amazing at boosting your metabolism. So if any of you out there are feeling sluggish or slightly cool at this time of year, circulation issues, get some cinnamon in your diet, about a teaspoon a day. It's brilliant. Right, I don't even bother with teaspoons, you know what I'm like. So here we go, don't have that much though. About that much, about a teaspoon, straight in, little bit of water just to help it to start, and away we go. So that's the second one going in. Okay, now we need to talk about some controversial, let me just flip this one now, and then we can use that shortly. That's fine. And now, the chocolate. I think we've all got to accept that chocolate and pancakes work well together, and we've probably all used Nutella and chocolate spreads on our pancakes. So how can we make this healthier? Okay, well the first thing we're going to do is create a chocolate sauce. And to do that, I'm using my favourite, can I call them condiments? Maybe not, but anyway, maple syrup. If you haven't got any of this, it's expensive, and I'm not going to lie, but it goes a long way. What we're going to do is add 4 tablespoons of maple syrup to your blender. We're just using our blender a lot today. So 4 tablespoons. This is going to serve 4 or 5 servings. Obviously, you can make it in bigger quantities if you like. To that, I'm going to add the equivalent in cocoa powder. Again, all cocoa powders are not the same. Try and get one with a high cocoa content, the higher possible. First of all, it's obviously healthier for you. It's got the higher cocoa. And secondly, it's also far more chocolatey. So in something like this, it really is a benefit. So here we go, 4 of them. This kitchen's going to be so messy after this morning. Okay, hope you're all keeping up. The last thing we're going to use, I've pre-ground them. You can buy them ground. I bought them fresh this morning, and I just pre-ground them because they're so noisy. Are hazelnuts. Now hazelnuts, unsurprisingly, are the main in Nutella. So we're trying to do something similar. So first off, about that much, 3 tablespoons of nuts. And let's just blast that round in the NutriBullet here. Actually, I'm going to just rinse that lid slightly. Okay, so let's get that on. And then this is going to be perfect on one of our pancakes. Let me just give it a quick whiz. Okay, that doesn't want to work for me. That means I've got to give it a shake. So if your NutriBullet decides it doesn't want to work for you, just give it a little shake like this. Okay, so what we end up with is effectively our chocolate sauce. And that is, for my benefit, is relatively healthy. So if you're really into chocolate, and I know a lot of my athletes say there's nothing else that I want, then try that chocolate sauce. The last topping is going to be my version of Nutella. So for this, I'm going to use a blender. You can do it in a little mini blender if you've got one. You can do it with a fork and just get really, really ripe avocado, okay? So the base of the Nutella is the avocado. And this is going to have the texture that we want to spread it on. Just put it in your blender or into your bowl if you're mashing. I'm going to use my blender, but I'm going to help it along by just giving it a few chops. And to this, we're going to add, again, 4 tablespoons of cocoa powder. And we're going to give it some hazelnuts again. So that's just going to go straight in my blender. We're going to go with the 4 tablespoons of the cocoa powder, okay? And we're going to go with the hazelnut. And with the hazelnut, it says in my recipe a handful, because I'm not very good at measuring everything out. However, if you want a measurement for a handful, I'd say 100 grams, okay? So pop that in. And then we're just gonna blast that round to create our Nutella. Now, we can add extra things to this. We can add a little bit of salt if you've got that desire for that saltiness with your Nutella. But we're going to basically create, let me see if I can spoon some of that just to show you the consistency. Okay? So if I put that in there, can you see? It's chocolate spread. Shall I taste it? Tastes like a chocolate spread. It's avocado, it's cocoa powder, and it's fresh hazelnuts. And that's all you need. Now that is the consistency for spreadable. If you like it slightly runnier, you can add some oil to that. Coconut oil works well because the coconut will work well with the chocolate. You can, if you want, depending on how sweet you want it, you could add some honey, or you could obviously add some maple syrup as well. So give it a taste before you serve it, and if you want to adjust that, honey, coconut oil, or maple syrup. Right, now, clearly, I've done some earlier because I obviously needed to stew my fruit. So this is the beautiful stewed cinnamon apple. And I can eat that like that in a bowl, and I can put some Greek yogurt on it, and it's phenomenal. But I'm going to put it on my pancakes today. There's the stunning little peaches that were stewed, and you can add a little bit of vanilla extract to that if you want. So I'm going to use some of that. The roasting. Now I've put some of these roasted. They become more caramelized. Now, when we roast something, we bring out even more of the fructose, we make it even sweeter, which is why obviously it's beneficial if we're trying to replicate something very sugary. If you like it like that, great. It's actually healthier to stew your fruit because we can retain more of the micronutrients. But if you really like a sweet tooth and you really preference it roasted, I don't have a problem. Okay, let me get my pancakes. So, I'm going to build some up for you today. If I start off with the banana pancake that we made earlier on, what I would recommend, we can have a bit of fun with this. Let's go for toppings. We talked about the benefits of the casein and protein before. Greek yogurt is brilliant. So let's put some Greek yogurt on. And you can be as generous as you want with this. So there's that topping going on. On top of that, I'm going to try some of the peaches. Okay, I think they'll work really well with the banana. Pop them on the top. And then, just because I'm feeling extravagant with you all on a Saturday morning, I'm going to put a little sprinkling of one of my favourite nuts, the pistachio. Okay, now again, we've talked about nuts before. Everybody has different nuts that they like. Some of you guys, I know, it's all about almonds, but they work brilliant with the peaches. And look, we all eat with our eyes. How pretty is that? This is a really healthy version of what most people go out and buy, have in restaurants, or cover in sugar and chocolate and nonsense. This is breakfast. This is your pre-run superfood. Fuels you up to 20 minutes before your race. Have a couple of these. We'll have different toppings on them, and you're good to go. Okay, let's go now with one of the... I wanted to show you different shapes. I've made one, don't know why, a sort of pita bread shape for no apparent reason. You know what I'm like. Okay, let's see. With this one, we can have, let's go with my gorgeous stewed apple. Again, we can have some Greek yogurt along with that. Personally, if it was for me, I'd do that. I'd tartan it up with a bit of lemon. If it was my children, they'd have to have a tiny bit of this, but I don't think you need it because apple is super, super sweet, and you're good to go. Now, which of the chocolate toppings should I use? Let's try this avocado-based one that I've just used. Okay, so if we're doing something like this, we have options. We can have it, we can warm it through if you'd rather, and have that super hot and spread it. Let me get a knife and show you. And I tell you what would go really nice with this would be some lovely fresh now, ideally, fresh berries. So I'm going to use some fresh blueberries, but you can use strawberries would be great with chocolate, raspberries great, everything's great with chocolate. Where have I put it? Here it is. Okay, so it's spreadable, and that's what we're looking for, a spreadable chocolate. This will stay in the fridge for a couple of weeks. So obviously keep it in the fridge, obviously keep it covered, and you can have this on wherever you'd usually use Nutella. So it spreads perfectly. And then we can just have a little sprinkling of brain food. On go the blueberries. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of sweetness, this is post now, so we've got the casein in the cottage cheese in the pancake, we've got the avocado with the nuts, which is more protein, in the chocolate spread. We've gone for the blueberries, which is all your micronutrients, so that's going to really help with your refueling. And I don't even mind a tiny little trickle of honey on the top. So we've gone through quite a lot today. I wanted just to show you how much fun you can have with your pancakes. I've not even used those, my lovely little roasted ones. Let's just sprinkle some of them on top as well, show goodwill. Okay, so we'll have a fun fruit fest here. Those of you that like them savoury, obviously add some chilies and some herbs into them when you're cooking, and then you can grate cheese over or add the cheese in while it's cooking. Have fun on pancake day. Don't just limit yourself to sugar and lemon or to chocolate spread. Try some of these, try the bases, particularly the cottage cheese one. It really is so important for you athletes in your post-recovery. Have fun on pancake day, send me your pictures, show me flipping, tossing your pancakes, whatever you want to do with them. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. We're going to do savoury next week, and I'm thinking of a savoury muffin so that you can transport it to your races and competitions, etc. with you. But I'll look forward to seeing you back in the kitchen live, 11 AM next Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. Happy pancake flipping. Take care.